On the story of the village girl's dream. Mfon's earliest memories were filled with laughter, warmth, and the gentle hum of a happy home. She was born in the lively city of Uyo, where her father, Etembong, worked as a mechanic in a well known automobile workshop. Her mother, Nsentim, ran a small food stall by the roadside, selling steaming plates of rice and fish stew to passers-by. They were not rich, but they lived comfortably, and their little family of four thrived in their modest one-room apartment in the heart of the city. At just 4 years old, Mfon adored her father. Every evening, as he returned home covered in grease and smelling of engine oil, she would run into his arms, giggling as he swung her around. My little sunshine, he would call her, planting a kiss on her forehead before settling down to eat. Their home was always filled with music. Ettenbang loved high life tunes, and on weekends he would lift Mfong onto his feet, dancing with her in cycles, while Nsentim clapped and laughed. But happiness is fragile and life unpredictable. On this raining evening, the news came like a raging storm that shattered their world. Ettenbong had been in a ghastly accident on his way home from work. A truck had lost control on the slippery road, ramming into the taxi he was in. The impact was fatal. By the time help arrived, he was gone. Nsentim wailed, clutching Mfon and her little brother tightly as if shielding them from the cruel truth. The funeral was a blur of sorrow and whispered condolences. Mfon, too young to fully grasp the permanence of death, kept asking, "When will Papa wake up?" The days that followed were brutal. Without Ettenborn's income, everything crumbled. The rent piled up, and soon the landlord came knocking. Constantine's food business could barely sustain them, and soon she had no choice but to let it go. The city that once felt like home now felt like a cold, merciless place. There was only one option left: to return to Obio Uruan, the village she had left behind years ago. Leaving the city was heartbreaking. Mfon cried when she saw their small belongings loaded into a truck, and she cried even more when they arrived at the village, where everything felt different. Their new home was nothing like the neat apartment in Uyo. It was a small mud house with a thatched roof, far from the paved streets and bright lights she had known. The nights were early silent, the days slow and harsh. Mfon, now 19 years old, sat on the dusty floor of her small mud house, deep in thought. Life in the village was hard. Her family was poor, and they struggled to have enough food each day. But today there was a glimmer of hope. Her mother had received a letter from an aunt in the city. The letter said that a rich woman, Madam Adaora, needed a housemaid to help her with chores in her big house. For Mfong, this was the chance she had been praying for. She could go to the city, work, and send money back to her family. She could change her life and help her younger siblings too. I'll go, Mama, Mfon said, determined. Her mother, Nsentemp, looked worried, but she knew they had no other choice. There were no jobs in the village, and life was only getting harder. The day Mfon was set to leave, her boyfriend, Udo, came to see her off. Udo was a fisherman in the village. He loved Mfong, but deep down, he wasn't sure she would come back. He had heard stories of people who went to the city and never returned. Don't forget about me when you are in the city, Udo said, his voice soft. I won't, Mfong promised as she hugged him. I'll be back soon. As the rickety bus arrived, Mfong climbed in, her heart full of both hope and fear. She waved at Udo and her family, wondering what lay ahead. When Mfon arrived in the city, she was amazed. It was nothing like the quiet village. There were so many people, cars, and tall buildings. Madam Adora's house was huge, with shiny floors and high ceilings. Mfon felt out of place, but Madam Adora welcomed her warmly. Mfon, this is your new home, Madam Adora said with a kind smile. Mfon felt a bit more at ease. Mfon worked hard every day. She cleaned, cooked, and did all the chores Madam Adora asked her to do. Madam Adora was pleased with Mfon. She often praised Mfon for being hardworking and careful with her tasks. You are a blessing, Mfon, Madam Adora said. If you continue like this, I will make sure you are rewarded when your time here is over. Mfon smiled, grateful for the kindness. This job was everything she had hoped for at the moment. She dreamed of a brighter future, one where she could return to her village as a success. But life has a way of surprising us, and soon Mfon's life would take a turn she never saw coming. 2 months into her stay in the city, Mfon began to feel sick. At first, she thought it was just the stress of city life. She felt weak and tired all the time, and she often felt nauseous. But when she missed her monthly period, she realized something was wrong. Mfon's mind raced back to Udo, to the last night they spent together before she left the village. Panic gripped her heart as she realized she was pregnant. She didn't know what to do. How could she tell Madam Adora? What would she think? Mfon kept the secret to herself, hoping that things would somehow work out. But as her pregnancy advanced, it became harder to hide. She became slower at work, and one day, while cleaning the kitchen, she fainted. Madam Adora rushed her to the hospital. The doctor examined Mfong and confirmed her worst fear. You are pregnant, the doctor said, his voice calm. But to Mfong, the words felt like thunder. Mfong could barely breathe. She looked at Madame Adora, ashamed and afraid of what she would say. Mfong, Madame Adora said softly, her face full of disappointment. Why didn't you tell me? Mfong's voice trembled as she spoke. I was scared, ma. I didn't know how. Madam Adaora sighed heavily, rubbing her forehead. You have put me in a difficult position, Mfon. I trusted you, and now I can't keep you here like this. The words pierced Mfon's heart. She had worked so hard to make Madame Adora happy, and now it was all ruined. Madame Adora explained that she would have to end Mfon's contract. Mfon packed her things, her dreams shattered. She had to return to her village with nothing, a failure, pregnant, and without a future. When she reached Obio Uruan, she went straight to Udo, hoping he would help her. But Udo had changed. He refused to take responsibility, saying the child wasn't his. You went to the city, he said coldly. How do I know what you did there? Mfon's heart broke again. She was completely alone. The villagers whispered behind her back, judging her. She felt abandoned, ashamed, and hopeless. Hmm. Now, the big question is, will Umfang get a grip of herself and find hope again? If you are with us at this point, please like, share, and subscribe as we look out for what's left for Umfang in the next part. Thank you.